April 17, 2021. In St. George's Chapel in Windsor, only 30 people sit. Not hundreds. Not the whole royal family. Not everyone with a historical claim to a seat. Only 30. The coffin stands at the front. The Queen sits alone, masked, dressed in black, separated from the others by pandemic rules. Every seat in this chapel counts, and among these few people sits a woman most viewers can barely place. Lady Sarah Chatto. Not a working royal, not a duchess with her own press machine, not a woman who makes headlines. And yet, she is there at a moment when the family cannot invite anyone out of courtesy. Why did the quietest royals stand so close to the Queen? Lady Sarah Chatto was never the loudest figure in the House of Windsor. She gave almost no interviews. She sought no public role. She never explained herself. She never turned her mother into a headline. To the public, she was Princess Margaret's quiet daughter. A minor figure, but that picture is only half true. Sarah was born on May 1st, 1964, at Kensington Palace. Her full name, Sarah Frances Elizabeth Armstrong Jones. Her mother was Princess Margaret, the Queen's younger sister. Her father was Anthony Armstrong Jones, Lord Snowdon, photographer, artist, an outsider in a world of rank and ritual. At birth, Sarah stood 7th in line to the British throne, close enough to belong to the royal family. Not close enough to ever wear the crown. Sarah grew up right in the middle of the system. But she stood at a vantage point where she could see what the crown does to people without becoming its main casualty herself. The first casualty near her was her own mother. Princess Margaret was once the glittering counterpoint to the Queen. Younger, livelier, more dangerous to any simple idea of royal duty. The press loved her. Until it didn't. Margaret's love for Peter Townsend burdened church, state, and palace. The press sold her marriage to Lord Snowdon as a modern fairy tale. Then it tracked every step of its collapse in public. 1976, the separation. 1978, the divorce. For the newspapers, it was a feast. For the palace, an embarrassment. For Sarah, a warning. 5 months after the divorce, her father remarried. Lucy Lindsay Hogg, his former assistant. Sarah was 14. Her father's new home was in Kensington, only minutes from her own childhood bedroom. A gift from the Queen to her former brother-in-law. 2 households, 2 lives, 1 child shuttling between them. On one side, the mother slowly falling apart. On the other, the father already moving on. A royal woman could first be admired, and then dropped. Not a single scandal, but a realization. The public doesn't just watch a family, it consumes it. Margaret kept feeding the press new material. Her marriage, her affairs, her illness, her physical decline. A princess became a storyline. Sarah didn't see this from the outside. She saw it as a daughter. She would not become the next woman whose life other people divided into chapters. But Sarah did not break with her mother. As Margaret grew older and sicker, Sarah went with her to every doctor's appointment, without a photographer ever finding out. After the operations, after the strokes, after the glamour ended, she stayed at her mother's side, in the places no camera reached. Elizabeth II had watched the same story from a different position. She had watched Margaret suffer under the role. She had watched the press turn a person into a symbol. She had watched a family member publicly fall apart while the institution had to keep running. And then she saw Sarah. The same closeness to the crown, but not the same hunger for public recognition. Sarah chose a different path. She didn't join the working royals' schedule. She didn't build her identity around court duties. She turned to art. She studied at Camberwell School of Art, later at the Royal Academy Schools. She painted landscapes and portraits, and she exhibited as Sarah Armstrong Jones, not as Lady Sarah Chatto, not as the Queen's niece. Since 1995, the Redfern Gallery in London has regularly shown her solo exhibitions. At her most recent show, she sold more than 3/4 of the works on display. At auction, her prices run in the low 4 figures. No royal premium, just the market value of a painting. A title changes a room before a person even speaks. Sarah never claimed that advantage out loud. She quietly set it aside. Then came July 14th, 1994. Sarah married Daniel Chatto. Here, too, the crown could have delivered a spectacle. Princess Margaret's daughter, the Queen's niece, a royal bride with enough family history for any front page. But the wedding took place at St. Stephen Walbrook, not at Westminster Abbey, not as a grand public fairy tale. And afterward, nothing happened. No marriage drama, no headline series stretching over years. In a family where marriages often became national events, Sarah's stayed conspicuously unremarkable. Her sons Samuel and Arthur grew up with royal blood, but not as products of the monarchy. Samuel went into art. Arthur chose a military path. Both stayed far from the kind of constant public exposure that other young royals fall into almost automatically. In February 2002, Sarah stood in this same chapel for the first time. This time, her own mother lay in the coffin. 400 guests. Her brother David at her side. No camera close enough to read her face. Then 2021 came again. Prince Philip died. The pandemic forced the royal family into a choice no one else could have enforced. Only 30 people were allowed into the chapel. Lady Sarah Chatto sat there. 18 months later, on September 19, 2022, at Westminster Abbey, she sat there again. At Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Not among the duchesses with their own press teams. Not among the cousins with their own scandals. But exactly where the Queen herself had written the seating list. Next to the seat Philip had held in 2021. And once again, almost no one recognizes her.